Welcome to the regular meeting of the Council of the Corporation of Municipalities of Central Elgin. Excuse me. Today is Tuesday, April the 9th. We welcome those in the council chambers as well as those online. If I could ask for those in attendance to please rise for the national anthem. Thank you. Municipality of Central Elgin acknowledges that it is located on the land of the McKee Treaty that was signed by the Wyandot and Anishinaabe First Nations, including ancestors of the Chippewas of the Thames First Nation. It is also the traditional territory of the Haudenosaunee, Attawandaronk, and Mississauga Nation. These First Nations continue to provide ongoing stewardship to the land and waters in the municipality of Central Elgin. Council, does anyone have a disclosure of pecuniary interest, the general nature thereof? Seeing none. First on the agenda is correspondence requiring action. Councillor Bachman.
Thank you, Mayor. At this time, I'm willing to accept decision of the Integrity Commission for their recommendations. I would also like to formally apologize for my incorrect assumptions, and will use this as a learning opportunity to improve my performance going forward.
Thank you, sir. Questions or comments? If I could get a mover and seconder to accept this, Councillor Bachman's apology, please. Councillor Halpin, seconded Councillor Watson.
Mayor Sloan, the motion reads, moved by Councillor Halpin, seconded by Councillor Watson, that the Code of Conduct complaint report regarding complaint 2024-01 from the Integrity Commissioner be received for information and filed.
All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Sidewalk concern in Port Stanley. We have a letter from Ms. Innes. Did anyone want to speak to this, please? Mr. Brooks, Ms. Greeno? Oh, sorry, Jeff, I didn't see your signal. Sir?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Staff are aware of the concern with the sidewalk on George Street and would propose to bring back an option for sidewalk with the construction for stormwater works as part of the DMAF project, which will take place in 2025 or 2026.
Great. Thank you very much, Mr. Brooks. Ms. Leach and I met with Ms. Innes, interested, and I think this will make her very happy in her pursuits. Any other questions or comments from council? Seeing none, if I could have a mover and a seconder. Deputy Mayor, Councillor Halpin, thank you.
Mayor Sloan, the motion reads, moved by Deputy Mayor Noble, seconded by Councillor Halpin, that staff be directed to investigate a sidewalk extension along George Street in Port Stanley and return a report for council consideration.
All those in favor? Opposed? And that's carried. Thank you. Moving on to information received. We have 3 items. Any questions or comments? Draft minutes from Heritage Central Elgin, 2 sets of minutes from the Elgin Group Police Services Board. Seeing none, if I could get a mover and a seconder. Councillor Bachman and Councillor Connors, thank you.
Mayor Sloan, the motion reads, moved by Councillor Bogman, seconded by Councillor Connors, that the correspondence items number 1 to 3 be received for information.
All those in favor? Opposed? And that's carried. Thank you. Our next item, CAO 0824, is Municipality of Central Elgin Strategic Plan. Ms. Greenall, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Council, before you is a report. It outlines the process that we have taken thus far for the strategic plan, noting the several meetings that council itself has taken to review the draft document. But before you is the plan, and we are looking for a motion to approve, receive the information, and to approve your 2024-2027 strategic plan outline.
Questions or comments? Councillor Bachman. Okay. Sir, we have a mover and a seconder very quickly. Thank you. Councillor Bachman and Councillor Connors. Thank you.
Mayor Sloan, the motion reads, moved by Councillor Bogman, seconded by Councillor Connors, the council receive report CAO 824 for information and adopt the document as their official strategic plan for 2024 to 2027, and that council direct administration to return a report to council that will detail how council objectives will be achieved, including timelines for communications.
All those in favor? Opposed? And that's carried. Item number 2, CAO 0924, appointment of a council representative to the OPP detachment. Ms. Greenall.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Councilman Forneview is a report looking for an appointment for the council representative to the OPP detachment. As noted, there was a new Community Safety Policing Act in 2019. This required the development of a new detachment board. With the development of the board, the old board had been dissolved, and the new board now will be re-engaged. In order to do so, each council will need to appoint its member. At the beginning of your council term, Mayor Sloan was appointed to the previous board, and so our recommendation is to continue forward with that appointment. Further to the development of a new board, there will need to be an approval of the remuneration that board members receive. It has been discussed by committee members and put forward to every local municipality to maintain the same remuneration as the previous board. So council, we are looking for your motion to proceed with these details.
Deputy Mayor.
I would move that.
Seconder. Councillor Halpin. Thank you.
Mayor Sloan, the motion reads, moved by Deputy Mayor Noble, seconded by Councillor Halpin, the council receive report CAO 924 for information and approve the appointment of Mayor Sloan to the new CSPA board, and that council approve the annual remuneration for board members as $1,500 per year, with the chair receiving $2,000 per year.
All those in favor? Opposed? That's carried. My thanks. I enjoy sitting on the OPP board. As Ms. Greenall said, it's been redone throughout the province, and I think it's an important position that we have representation. So I appreciate your support. Director of Infrastructure and Community Services, ICS 1224, Housing Enabling Water Systems Fund. Mr. Brooks or Mr. Piggott?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you.
We have 2 reports on the table here tonight to deal with the servicing of Union. The first one in front of you is report 1224. We're looking to apply for funding through the Housing Enabling Water System Fund here. We're looking at a total investment of $35 million for the servicing of Union with sanitary and water services. The province through this funding program is offering up 73% of it, or $25.2 million in our particular case. So the municipality will be looking to obtain funding through other sources, predominantly development charges in the amount of $9.3 million. And we're hoping council will approve a funding application here tonight, and we'll get started.
Thank you, Mr. Piggott. Before I go to questions, the total fund available for all municipalities in the province?
I don't have that number off the top of my head because it keeps changing there. It was like hundreds of millions of dollars. I believe it was $200 million. was what the initial announcement was, but I think they've upped it since then.
Because I was going to say, I hope they have, because we'd be the third municipality at Elgin County Council that's applying for this fund.
And
If that's 3 in Elgin County, we're going to have some stiff competition.
there will be, and this is a lottery style of an application. So we've got to put forward a good business case here. And I believe the application that we have here for Union fits all the criteria for it. We did look at some other options as well, including a wastewater treatment plant expansion for Belmont, which will be necessary in the coming years, but it didn't meet all the criteria for it. So we feel we have a strong case here for the servicing of Union, and we'd like to get that in and see where this goes with the province.
Thank you. I was disappointed to see that the Belmont one didn't qualify. Any questions or comments from the council that would like for Mr. Piggott or Mr. Brooks, please? Councillor Graham.
So I have some questions and some concerns. One, you noted in the report that at first, and I'm not sure who wants to address it, that you were first made aware of it at Roma, which was at the end of January. So I'm just wondering why it's only coming to us 10 days before the deadline if Roma was at the end of January. Because it doesn't give us a long time to consider it. To have possibly Stantec come and explain a little bit more of it. But anyway, if you can answer that one, and then I'll move on to my other questions if no one else has questions.
Mr. Brooks, please.
It basically comes down to timing and staff availability to get this report in front of council. We've had a number of priorities at the beginning of 2024, and it pushed this report back.
Thank you, Mr. Brooks. Councillor Graham.
And just so I'm understanding part of it again, because again, it's quite convoluted for me to understand it. So we're asking Stantec within this process, we're asking Stantec to do another report for us when we disagreed with one of their original reports?
Mr. Brooks, please.
Through you, Mr. Mayor. So this gets into the second report on the agenda. We can talk about that one now if you like, or do we want to? I will present that report.
Okay, so just so you have another question, but beforehand, this application is ready to go, Mr. Brooks?
We are in the process of preparing it. It'll be ready to go for the 19th.
Thank you, sir. Councillor Graham.
So again, trying to understand, so I know that when Kevin was here previously, he had said we had an oversaturation of land that's residential. And now we've potentially have with Minister Flack, some recommendation or announcement that we're potentially going to have a lot of residential land at the site. If we're already oversaturated, what are the implications of this then, that we're going to be developing that area?
Mr. Brooks, please.
With respect to Union, because I have more details on the development of Union, there are 2 developers who have purchased property in Union and do want to move forward with development. So this application and the work that we'll talk about on the next report will support the development of those properties that have already started to move forward in the development process.
Thank you. Councillor Connors, please.
Thank you. Through you, Mayor. In addition to Councillor Graham's question, wastewater and sewer water seems to be a huge issue, and I've learned of that in my time here so far. What is your plan on how to service these new homes in this new area?
Mr. Brooks.
So we've got a couple of options to look at servicing Union. The first being the preferred alternative that came out of the 2021 Union area wastewater environmental assessment. That preferred alternative was to station a pump station at the southwest corner of Sparta Line and Sunset and convey flows via the pump station through a force main into the Port Stanley collection system. Now, that EA at the time, and again, we're getting into the next report here, but in 2021, it did not consider the downstream implications of conveying flows through Port Stanley. In 2023, through the consolidated linear infrastructure environmental compliance approval that was required through staff here at Central Elgin, it was the Port Stanley collection system, wastewater collection system was modeled. And at that time, staff became aware that conveying flows from Union would have some impacts to the collection system in Port Stanley. So we knew that there may be some issues at some point in time, but with flows coming from Union, the significant required upgrades to the Port Stanley collection system would be required sooner rather than later. So that forced staff to take a step back, and we presented back, I believe in July of 2023, to present staff's concern to council. And that's when we engaged Stantec to move forward to confirm staff's concern. That report that came from Stantec is attached to the next council report on the agenda here. And what that report did is it confirmed staff assumptions that significant upgrades would be required to the collection system. And it also looked at an alternative servicing method cross-country through Southwold, which would bypass the collection system, therefore not requiring any upgrades to the collection system in Port Stanley. So that being said, staff are going to recommend in the next report that we move forward with an addendum to that EA from 2021 to either build upon that preferred alternative to identify all the downstream implications, or to move forward with the alternative option of going through Southwold directly to the plant, therefore bypassing the Port Stanley collection system. This grant application will outline what we believe is a cheaper alternative, going through Southwold directly to the plant.
Mr. Brooks and council, I'm just going to ask here if we could just take this piece, because the actual motion is whether or not we're going to approve the funding application. And then, as Jeff is reminding us very politely and kindly, the gist of this comes in the next piece. Is that fair that we could then just discuss the funding application? Councillor Bachman, please.
I would like to move that we actually proceed with the funding application.
Sir, Councillor Halpin. Councillor Graham, did you have a comment?
Still have.
Okay, go ahead.
So I know that staff has continually told us that if we apply for, or do a funding application and then we pull out of it, that it's not looked upon well. So I want to make sure that we're having all the information here and that everybody can make an informed decision. So how much, do we have a bottom line on how much it will actually cost the municipality and how much it will actually cost residents that are paying into it?
Councillor, or pardon me, excuse me, councillors, if I could have Mr. Brooks, please.
If I can go through this, I believe the total project costs were 34.55 million. The funding would cover 25.22 million of that 35 million through the grant. And I can't confirm for sure, but staff would assume the majority of the remainder of those project costs could be collected through development charges or connection fees.
Thank you, sir. Councillor Graham.
So we actually don't have any full numbers on how much it would cost the municipality or how much it would cost people that are just the residents. We don't have any definitive numbers there.
Mr. Brooks.
Well, again, these are all estimated costs for whenever this happens or would happen, but the remaining cost is 9.33 million that remains unfunded. Now, again, it's assumed that the majority of those could be collected through development charges.
May I just advance? Mr. Brooks, may I ask the question, if the $20 million, which is a sizable amount, doesn't come through, what happens at that point?
That will lead the municipality and the developers to the negotiating table to determine how we build this infrastructure, how we get it there, There's a potential for front-ending agreements to pay for portions of this. There's the option to make the investment and collect that back through development charges as well as connection charges. However, regardless of it, you know, if we don't receive this grant, in order to service Union, there would be an investment that would have to be made by the municipality, which, you know, could be collected back through development charges.
Understood. Thank you. I have the deputy mayor and Councillor Graham.
I'd like to second that motion.
It's been seconded.
Oh.
Thank you. Councillor Graham.
And sorry, the 25.22 million of the grant, that's if we receive the 100% that we would be entitled to. It could come back at, say, giving us $2 million rather than 25 million or 1 million or 500,000.
Mr. Brooks.
Potentially, I'm not sure how it would be determined what our level of funding would be if we were successful. I would suggest, though, that, you know, if we were successful in it, it wouldn't bind the municipality to, you know, be forced into a program that it potentially couldn't afford.
Thank you. Excuse me. Thank you, sir. Councillor Graham. Getting to the end, Mr. Brooks.
I understand that it doesn't bind us, but you've told us previously, and I just want to reiterate that it doesn't look good on the municipality if you don't accept what the government is offering. So now I understand it doesn't bind, but at the same time, you've told us previously that it doesn't look good on us. So just that comment. But when you say connection charges, that means the ratepayer, correct? The rest.
Well,
Mr.
I'm not
Brooks,
sure that I did say those words, but I guess we could go back and check the tape. But when I'm talking about connection charges, what that would mean would be if we're constructing a sewer and it runs by a residential property that is currently on septic. When that residence connects to the sanitary sewer, we would collect back a connection charge to help fund the cost of that sewer.
What? Yeah, and if I may, I think it's 837. It's about 1,000 people. The large majority are the new homes that are being built. And then, of course, 1,000 times whatever. I mean, 1,000 times 10,000 would be $10 million the last time I checked, but a good discussion. Council, Deputy Mayor.
Through the mayor, how long has it been since these two developments have been started?
Mr. Brooks.
I would suggest that these two developments have been in some form of consultation with municipal and planning staff for approximately 2 years.
Thank you, sir. I have a mover and a seconder. Councillor Graham said, you're okay, Councillor Graham? There we go. Ms. Leach. Sorry, I was getting this when I heard call the vote. All those in favor? Opposed? And that's carried. Call the vote, please. Ms. Leach, I was right. I was just a little early. Thank you.
Councillor Graham,
No.
Councillor Halpin,
Yes.
Councillor Watson,
Yes.
Councillor Connors,
Yes.
Councillor Bogman,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor, no.
So,
Yes.
Mayor Sloan,
yes.
that's carried. Thank you.
ICS 1324. We've gone from the frying pan to the fire. Sanitary sewer servicing, Community of Union. Would you like to go ahead, Mr. Brooks?
Sure. This report here is just to follow up our conversation on the previous report. Staff is recommending that the municipality move forward with Stantec to make an addendum to the 2021 Union Area EA to reconsider the preferred alternative or expand upon the preferred alternative.
Thank you, Mr. Brooks. Deputy Mayor?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I think it's important to know that Without this study, we don't know if this other option is a good option or not. It's pretty well known that this is a good option. But if we continue to go down the road that we're planning on, where we take the sewage and we shoot it into Port Stanley, we're going to add increased costs to the tax base now, as opposed to making the cost base go towards the new development in Union. So that's why this is important to do.
Thank you. The waste, the sewage is going to Port Stanley regardless though, correct?
No, this EA will determine whether or not the preferred alternative is to go to Port Stanley or go cross-country through Southwold directly to the plant there, or bypassing the Port Stanley collection system.
Thank you. And we had a meeting about this, and obviously the deputy mayor listened more than I did. But still, the ultimate is it's going to the Port Stanley wastewater treatment. It's just how it gets there, correct? Okay.
That is correct.
Thank you. I got
To
one of them
determine
right.
how it best gets to the wastewater treatment plant. It'll still be treated at the same spot. I would add that, you know, with this addendum, it provides the opportunity for input from the public council as well as the developers as well on the preferred alternative.
Thank you. Councillor Graham.
So just so I'm clear, this was the report that staff disagreed with from Stan. This is the one we're talking about now? This is not the one that,
Mr. Brooks.
So going back to, I believe it was July of 2023, staff or council authorized staff to engage Stantec to confirm staff's model of the sanitary collection system in Port Stanley. That technical memo is attached, and they also took a look at a second option of, like I said, going through Southwold. So all of that is attached. This would just build upon that and adopt that into the EA that has already been done.
Thank you, Mr. Brooks. The overall, and I appreciate that it's a Stantec report which will determine the ultimate path. We have a few variables, as the deputy mayor mentions. We're talking about a project of approximately $20 million. Is that fair? No, $30 million, if that's, sir?
The wastewater component is upwards of about $18 million on its own. So, you know, we really want to vet this preferred alternative and make sure that we're moving forward with our eyes open on exactly what all of our future costs are going to be when it comes to servicing Union.
Thank you. Questions or comments from council? Deputy Mayor,
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I'd move that.
I have a mover. Councillor Halpin will second. Sorry.
Thank you, Your Worship. And if I may add a comment before we get to voting on this. I did have a few people reach out and ask me how this applies for people who are on the board, on the council here, who live in the Union area. And so I'm going to take a moment to be the municipal textbook. The Act does say here that when we're talking about utility services supplied by our municipality, you are no more or less affected than any other citizen. And so you are welcome to vote on it.
Thank you. If I could, all those in favor? Opposed? And that's carried. Director of Financial Services with respect to tenders for the Albertson Drain. Ms. Greenall, are you taking this one? Thanks, Mr. Brooks.
Yeah, staff called tenders for the Albertson Drain construction. 2 bids were received. The low bid being from Robinson Farm Drainage. Robinson has done a number of projects for us, and we're confident they'll be able to execute this project.
Thank you, sir. Any questions, comments? If I get a mover, no, sorry, we have a question from Councillor Watson. Thank you.
Through you, Mayor. Mr. Brooks, what was the initial estimate of this drain? Did we have our engineering department was it like 600,000 before?
Sir?
My apologies, I don't have that number with me. But what I can tell you is if it were a certain 33% above the estimated cost, we would require a public meeting to accept that. So it is within the standard estimated cost to move forward with.
Thank you, Mr. Brooks. If I could get a mover and a seconder, please. Counselor Watson, Counselor Bachman. Thank you.
Mayor Sloan, the motion reads, moved by Counselor Watson, seconded by Counselor Bogman, that the Council of the Corporation of the Municipality of Central Elgin accept the tender of Robinson Farm Drainage Incorporated for 2024-01 Albertson Drain in the amount of $481,900 plus all applicable taxes.
All those in favor? Opposed? And that's carried. Thank you. Director of Fire Services, Fire and Rescue Services, and the Fire Chief. We have two items, FS 0824 and FS 0924. Chief Ormerod, please.
Believe the first report before you is the monthly alarm report.
Sorry, absolutely. Any questions or comments on that report? Seeing none, if I could get a mover and a seconder. Thank you, Councillor Halpin, and thank you, Councillor Bachman.
Mayor Sloan, the motion reads, moved by Counselor Halpin, seconded by Counselor Bogman, that report FS 824 regarding monthly alarm activities report, March 2024, be received for information.
All those in favor? Opposed? And that's carried. Number two, FS 0924. Thank you, thank you, Chief Ormerod. Banning of fireworks for the month of May. Did you wish to speak to that, sir?
So for council's information, Mayor, as you can see, there are a number of bylaws that still are on the books, and previously two that relates to setting off and the sale of fireworks with relation to the Port Stanley Council from years before. Unfortunately, there's been significant changes to the way that fireworks can be sold, handled, and stored, as well as setting off when you compare to the two previous bylaws. So you see there are a number of bylaws that are on the books that relate to fireworks. And for us to recommend a ban for one particular month, all of those bylaws, my understanding, would have to go before council to have that stipulated within it. Thus is why this report's coming forward at this point in time.
Questions or comments from council, please? Councillor Graham.
Not through you, Mr. Chair, not to the bylaws, but just to the general council. So in speaking with our local food landowner as well, he will no longer be selling the fireworks throughout the entire year. So I'm foreseeing that it's going to significantly drop the amount of fireworks that we spontaneously have let off in Port Stanley anyway. But definitely a good bylaw change to make sure that it's that we don't have them set off in May.
Councillor Halpin.
Thank you. I would like to thank the chief for the report. And I know that it can take some time for bylaws to be drafted and redrafted. So I'm not sure whether we can reasonably hope to have this before May 24. But in speaking with Colleen Burns, who's been a great advocate for our local wildlife, she has iterated to me as well that there are companies now making low volume fireworks. So whatever we do today here, I would urge the public to consider choosing low or no volume fireworks so that at least while this matter is decided, we can reduce our harm.
Thank you, Councillor Halpin. Any other questions or comments from council? Deputy Mayor.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I'm just curious, when we start looking at these bylaws, at what point do we just ban everything that makes any level of noise and disturbs anybody in the complete municipality? Just a question.
Well, I'm not going to give that one to the chief, I don't think. I think that as we look at making changes, I do believe that, Ms. Burns, Colleen Burns is here, as we also have former Councillor Wynn. Welcome to you both. I think that we have two issues, one of fireworks and one of fireworks in May. So I believe, that there's perhaps two different ways to look at this. And Councillor Halpin has her hand up, so I'll pass it over to her.
Thanks, Mayor Sloan. I'll bite. So I would say that when we have studies that reasonably indicate that harm is genuinely being caused, that is a good point for us to decide that's a threshold. Obviously, there will be times that someone is simply irritated by something, but when real damage is being done, that's when we should take a look at it.
Any other questions or comments? Okay, Ms. Greeno?
Just for council awareness, the motion before you is to direct staff to proceed to draft a fireworks bylaw. So at this moment in time, we're not having discussions about whether we are or aren't banning in May. That conversation will come when the actual bylaw is put before you.
It's here. Over, is that for next steps? We've got the listing. Questions or comments? Good. We have a mover, Councillor Halpin. Councillor Bachman will second.
Mayor Sloan, the motion reads, moved by Councillor Halpin, seconded by Councillor Bachman, that report FS 924 regarding banning of fireworks for the month of May be received for information, and that council directs staff to draft a municipal fireworks bylaw and comprehensive municipal noise bylaw.
All those in favor? Opposed? It's defeated.
Councillor Graham,
Yes.
Councillor Halpin,
Yes.
Councillor Watson,
No.
Councillor Con,
No.
Councillor Bachman,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Noble,
No.
Mayor Sloan.
No.
That's defeated.
Okay. Director of Asset Management and Development Services, AMDS 0824, February monthly building report.
Council, before you is the monthly building report for the month of February.
Questions or comments? Seeing none, if I could get a mover and a seconder. Councillor Connors and Councillor Watson, thank you.
Mayor Sloan, the motion reads, moved by Councillor Connors, seconded by Councillor Watson, that report AMDS 824 regarding March 2024 monthly building report be received for information.
All those in favor? Opposed? And that's carried. AMDS 0924, the bylaws, mover and a seconder, please. Deputy Mayor and Councillor Connors, thank you.
Mayor Sloan, the motion reads, moved by Deputy Mayor Noble, seconded by Councillor Connors, that report AMDS 924 regarding March 2024 monthly bylaw reports be received for information.
All those in favor? Opposed? And that's carried. Thank you. I guess now we need a mover and a seconder to proceed into closed session, please. Councillor Bachman and Councillor Halpin. Thank you. Pardon me. Before we go into closed session, does anyone have any statements? Deputy Mayor.
I'd like to thank everyone who contributed to the safe and successful Eclipse event yesterday. The collaboration, pre-planning and engagement from our staff, OPP, firefighters, and first responders was excellent. A special thank you to Central Elgin staff who went beyond. Chief Omrod was instrumental in the planning for pretty much all of Elgin County, I believe. So special thanks to Chief Omrod. We appreciate the level of preparedness of all that were involved. And it was definitely a good event to showcase Central Elgin and its abilities as a whole. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Shout out, Jeff, to you and your team as well. Everything was picked up. The people were, our cousins from Toronto were just so, what's the word? They couldn't believe how clean the village was. So to you and your staff, I say thank you, and the rest of the Central Elgin staff, Ms. Greenall, obviously Chief Ormerod, but I think it was a very successful day. And we were very, your efforts made it as much a once in a lifetime experience as it could be for many people. And I believe a lot of the people that saw our great village and our municipality will return. So thank you. Now, if I get a mover and a seconder for closed session. Deputy Mayor. Oh, you already have. I apologize.
Mayor Sloan, the motion reads, it's moved by Counselor Bogman, seconded by Counselor Halpin, that council proceed into closed session at 7:40 PM in order to address a matter pertaining to a position, plan, procedure, criteria, or instruction to be applied to any negotiations carried on or to be carried on by or on behalf of the municipality or local board, and personal matters about an identifiable individual, including municipal or local board employees.
All those in favor? Opposed? And that's carried.